Good morning and welcome to the March 10th, 2010 edition of the Cottage Grove Economic Development Authority meeting. I'm EDA Vice President Steve Dennis, sitting in for Mayor Bailey, who is not able to be here today. And the first item on our agenda is the roll call.
EDA President Bailey, EDA Member Carey. Here. EDA Vice President Dennis.
Here.
EDA Member Myers.
Here.
EDA Member Smoot. EDA Member Thewis.
Here. All right, next item is number 3, which is the approval of minutes. 3.1 is the January 14th, 2020 EDA minutes. I would look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Okay, motion made by Mr. Thewis. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Second by Mr. Carey. All in favor of this, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Next is 4.0, which is business items, and we have 4.1 Economic Development Update, Business Inquiry, and Matt will take us through that.
Thank you, EDA Vice President Dennis. Today we're going to start out with the Beige Book. This just recently came out last week from the Federal Reserve Bank. What they're reporting is employment rose moderately since the last report, with a greater share of businesses increasing employment levels compared to those reporting decreases. Additionally, consumer spending has increased modestly overall since the last report, with sales tax receipts in Minnesota slightly higher than forecast. Commercial construction grew moderately since the last report, with construction firms indicating that 2020 expects to be a stronger year than last year. And then finally, manufacturing activity increased moderately since the last report. Up North Plastics, this currently is going on in our business park. You can see it from Highway 61 and 10. Currently, they're working on the structural steel erection and making progress on the exterior brick and blue metal exterior and roofing. Project is also expected to be done in late summer or early fall of 2020. Renewal by Anderson, this project is a 348,008 square foot building at their current facility in Cottage Grove. Contractors are working on various stages of the office area framing, sheetrock, ceiling grid, and mechanical systems. The roof has been completed, and the warehouse is also substantially complete. Menards project, the exterior accessory structure is substantially complete, with exterior cladding currently being installed on the north side gable. Fencing around the guard shack is currently being constructed, and finally the exterior main level storage project is complete, with the mezzanine structure or second level with the final racking and display levels being constructed currently. Exciting project that recently was announced. We did get the permit for the vanilla shower project that is to be issued for the future PetSmart. This consists of an interior renovation of 22,370 square feet and with a value of $650,000. The permit has been reviewed, approved, and is ready for issuance. Overall, then between PetSmart and Planet Fitness, that will leave a gap of, or a vacancy of about 13,450 square feet. We'll talk a little bit more about this building in our next item on the agenda as well. Leaf Line Labs expansion within our business park. They're looking for an interior remodel project that consists of modifying an existing office space to an additional growing operation by adding 134,000 square feet of greenhouse. This building permit has been reviewed and is ready for issuance. The air gas project, they're currently working in our business park on underground process piping, which is being installed with footing and foundation work now complete. Contractors have also been requested now to begin working on Saturday and Sunday to address some of Excel's construction schedule that has to do with their substation, which you can see in the graphic right over here, that they'll be working on, working around with Excel to get that installed for their business. The facade improvement program, just a brief overview. This is a $25,000 grant program that the city of Cottage Grove and we do here with the EDA for exterior remodels, a 50-50 grant program for those exterior facades and commercial buildings. Brochures and letters have been mailed out. Again, the deadline for this program application is April 6th, 2020, and we have been getting quite a bit of interest from businesses around our commercial districts on this program. And then finally, the 3M Business Breakfast. The 3M Business Breakfast will be held on Thursday, March 24th. This year's event will feature keynote speaker Joe Schmidt. The event is complimentary to anyone within our business community. Anyone interested can register by emailing office@cottagegrovechamber.org or reach out to the city. We can also help you get you registered as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to the EDA for any comments or questions.
All right, thank you, Matt. And the EDA, do we have any questions, thoughts? All right, well, thank you so much for that. We'll continue moving right along to item 4.2, which is a presentation for the city's vacancy rate.
Yes, thank you, EDA Vice President Dennis. One of the things that we wanted to do at the end of 2019, unfortunately it wasn't ready for our January meeting, but update the EDA on the current vacancies and our rate compared to the Southeast Metro and the overall Metro. So currently, as of March 2020, Cottage Grove has 17 vacancies within our commercial sector. That is for a total of 105,000 square feet out of our total commercial square footage that we have available of 1.8 million. So with the retail rate vacancy of about 6.2% and office rate vacancy of 7.4%. So how does that compare across the metro? Currently, Cottage Grove, for the retail vacancy, they do split them up overall. Just to highlight that for a second, the industry as a large doesn't just look at commercial as a whole. They split it up into office and retail. So as a retail rate, Cottage Grove's at 6.2. The Southeast Metro as a whole is at 6.3, and then the total metro is at 7.5. For office, we're sitting at 7.4 for the Southeast Metro, 10%, and then the total metro is 11.9%. So looking at it from a historical value and where we're at, in 2017 overall, we were at about 11.4%. We've seen a gradual decrease all the way to today where we're sitting at about 6.5% vacancy. Our office was at 9.9. Today we're sitting at 7.4. And in 2017, our retail is at 11.9. We're at 6.2. So before you today, you do have a map as well as a table. I'm not going to go through the whole entire table, but I did want to touch upon the top 5 because it kind of is indicative of why we're at where we're at. Just to give you a breakdown of the map that you see before you. First, the table in front of you is every single vacancy that's currently on the market. That's 1 through 17. It also is looking at what was available in 2018, so some of those ones at the bottom aren't numbered because those are the ones that aren't on the map that were available in 2018 that are no longer available. And then this table does correspond with the numbers that you see other way on the left, does line up to where they're located within the community. So kind of looking at the top 5, first, the one that we talked about briefly in our update, Grove Plaza. We've seen the largest decrease in our vacancy rate because really in 2017, this building was almost completely vacant. It might have been, with the exception of Sports Clips, this building was completely vacant. So it was driving up our vacancy numbers. So since 2017, we've seen TJ Maxx Home Goods come in, Planet Fitness, now PetSmart. So every year, this number has consistently gone down to what we're sitting at about 27,900 feet square vacant currently. Moving down to number 2, 80th Street Crossing. This building has unfortunately been somewhat of an issue just because a lot of the vacancies that we see there have to do with some of the tenant restrictions that are on the building. We have been working on with a number of different businesses as opportunities, working with the broker and the building owner to try to see if we can't make something work. But some of those restrictions have been harder, so that's one of the reasons we see this sitting at number 2 and why it hasn't moved from 2018 where it's still at 17,188 square feet vacant. Number 3, a big reason why our office vacancy has started to decrease. As in 2018, this is the Pine Arbor Summerhill Professional Building, which is located up there at 70th and Hinton. As of 2018, there was 15,567 square feet vacant. Now there's 11,600, so we're seeing that number decrease. That's one of the reasons we're seeing our office vacancy rate decrease. And then 4 and 5, these are 2 of the properties that unfortunately we haven't seen. The reason we haven't seen a bigger decrease in our retail is because these 2 properties have seen an increase in their vacancy rate. So starting with Jamaica Square, which is located down here, number 4 at Jamaica, in the Jamaica corridor. The end cap space there and some of their inline space has seen a greater increase in vacancy recently. They were at 5,972 square feet. In 2018, they're now at 7,283 square feet. And then finally, one of the great things to see recently was Las Margaritas did take the former Perkins building, which is great. adds a lot, and I think everybody who's been in there says it's a great ambiance, great restaurant. Unfortunately, when that happened, though, that did create a rather large vacancy over at the shops at Gateway North, so we've seen them recently jump from end of 2018, they were almost full at 1,320 square feet. They've jumped up now to 6,684 square feet. So just kind of touched upon how we got and where we're at, those kind of top 5 kind of highlight both areas of what's coming, what hasn't. Overall, though, again, we've seen our retail and office vacancy rate go down every year since 2017, so it is something that has been great to see within the community. So with that, I'll turn it over to the EDA for any comments or questions.
All right, thank you, Matt. Do we have any comments or questions? Okay. I would like to mention just a couple things. When you talk to people who are experts in commercial development, a lot of times, they feel that the perfect amount of space for vacancy is about 6.0%. And we are really, really close to that. But the interesting thing is, we're actually in need of more space because, as you know, we've had some recent inquiries where we just don't have the opportunity to fit those types of businesses. So as we move closer and in time toward the shops at Cottage View, which would be the concept that we would have down County Road 19 and Highway 61, that will really be the next great opportunity for us to expand and be able to bring more opportunity in. And Matt, if you wouldn't mind, not only for those of us here, but the folks at home, could you just give a brief mention and talk a little bit about restrictive covenants and easements so people know when, there are sometimes more reasons why a business can't come into an area and kind of how that works.
Sure, yeah, thank you, EDA Vice President. So one of the things in the commercial sector that we see a lot and what happens with some of our buildings is they put restrictive covenants, especially if a vacancy or a building is struggling and they really need to get their first tenant in. We see this somewhat with TJ Maxx Home Goods. When they recently came in, they signed some restrictive covenants that said, in order for us to be there, we get to have first say on what moves in next to us, what the potential of, if, for example, if it's another clothing store, we get to say yes or no to that before they can sign any sort of a lease. So what we've seen with some of our projects and some of our lease structures that we see in the commercial sector is that has really put a damper. Some of them have been very restrictive, specifically the 80th Street Crossing building, have been a struggle for potential tenants. We've had different businesses look at that from health facilities and things like that. That unfortunately, with some of the restrictive covenants that were put on that building, have made it a little bit more of a challenge. I know that business owner would love, or that property owner would love to see that building full, but because of some of those covenants, has made it difficult to fill that building.
All right, well, thank you for that explanation. And again, it's something that a lot of times people don't understand when they look and see, hey, there's an empty space, it's been there for years, why is this not filling in? And it's because of those very restrictive scenarios that you had explained out. So I appreciate that, and unless there's any other feedback, we'll move on. The next item for us today will be under number 5, which is a public hearing. 5.1 is 80th and Hemingway LLC, and Director Christine Costello will take us through that.
Good morning, Vice President Dennis and fellow EDA members. Before you today is 80th and Hemingway LLC. It is a public hearing, and we're talking about the sale of a property and a development agreement. But to provide you some background information, the site is our former City Hall site. In June 2011, it was decided that we would build this facility, so we vacated this one here. We did repurpose the former City Hall site as the Business Enterprise Center, or BEC. And the idea of that was small businesses could locate in the old building for minimal rent, and then hopefully they would move to our business park. Great idea, concept. Unfortunately, it didn't have the results that we wanted, so we did end up closing the BEC in 2016. Though the building did allow us to temporarily house our fire station number 2 during the construction of the central fire station. So since we built the central fire station on fire station number 2 site, the firefighters were able to relocate, use this structure as a temporary home during that construction. So central fire station opened in 2018. To go back a year, in 2017, the city and the county attempted to work together. The library is located directly behind the former City Hall parcel, to see if we could do a project that would develop both parcels at the same time. Unfortunately, due to each party's needs and wants for their site, we couldn't come to an agreement on how that would work. So in 2018, we began working with the applicant, who we have a letter of intent with since that time, to develop the former City Hall parcel. And to provide you some background information, we recently, through our 2040 comprehensive plan, as well as our zoning ordinance, have re-guided this area to mixed use. So that allows the mix of uses, both residential, office, retail, both in a vertical and horizontal fashion. So that allows 20 to 40 units an acre. The application is proposed at 38 units an acre, so it meets that requirement. We're going through the process of rezoning the property from B1 limited business to mixed use. You can see the proposed layout of the building. It is a 4-story market rate building, 120 units. There are 94 underground spaces and 116 surface spaces. And what is really neat about this, from a city perspective, is we haven't had a market rate building in the community since the 90s. So one thing we noticed in our BRE process is a lot of people looking for apartments are having to leave our community, house elsewhere in order to work. So a breakdown of the unit count, there are 31 studio units, 47 one-bedroom, 38 two-bedroom, and 4 three-bedroom units. Site access, still the main access will be on Hemingway. The site is oriented in an L shape, and so the main entrance is on the interior facing the library site. The underground parking is still accessible from the existing curb cut that's there on 80th Street with a turn-in. So those 94 people who park underneath will access in and out of that one spot. There is an existing shared driveway between the library and the former City Hall site. That will go away. In previous documentation searches, there is no cross-access agreement. We met with the county. They understand that that will go away. The library will have access from 79th Street. The developer is kindly doing some work, curb cut and a patch, so the library will have circulation through their lot. If parking becomes an issue for the library, we will work with them to have some on-street parking on Hemingway in front of the library if needed. Landscaping, currently there's minimal landscaping on the site, and the developer is really bringing in tons of landscaping, lots of foundation landscaping, some benches along 80th Street. It really will give it a pedestrian feel. There's the existing sidewalk on 80th and Hemingway, and then they're proposing a trail along the west side of the building that eventually, hopefully, we could allow connection through maybe the library parcel, then to Oakwood Park. So residents will have access to the city amenities through the existing trails and walkways. So there's not a park on site. The idea with mixed use is you're gonna go use the city's parks and trails for recreation. Architecture, the architecture has a kind of modern contemporary feel. It really is in keeping with the existing commercial in the area and flows nice. As you can see from the illustration, there are bump outs which give the building some architectural feel, plays on shadows. Every unit will have a balcony or a patio. There is a community room, dog run with car wash, package room, which is important these days with online shopping. You can see in the southwest corner of the image some additional architectural detail to really kind of highlight the area, and you can see the proposed landscaping for the site. One of the reasons we're here today is to sell the property, the 3.18 acres. It was appraised for $600,000. We negotiated with the applicant for a sale price of $400,000. We felt this is very important and a good sales price for the EDA because it returns this property to the tax roll, which it has not been on. And there's no additional project financing that the applicant is requesting. The only thing we're doing is assisting in a grant application with the South Washington Watershed District for an underground stormwater infiltration detention system that will go below the parking lot. Additionally, through the development agreement, which kind of lays out what each party is required to do as the sale of the property, deposit of earnest money, which has already been completed, completion of the city approval process. So Planning Commission was heard in February. The Planning Commission did recommend approval to City Council with a vote of 7-0. So that will move forward March 18th, along with this process today. And then developer payment of developer fees. And those are our fees that we require any application to pay as part of the building permit fee requirements. So those are sewer and water, as well as additional fees such as that. So with that, before you are two recommendations. It is a public hearing. The applicant is here and can introduce themselves if you would like. And with that, I can stand for any questions.
All right, thank you, Christine. Do we have any questions for staff? Yes, Mr. Thewis.
So what do you think the rents would be for the different unit types that you have? Market rate.
EDA members, I will let the applicant answer that question, and then at that time, they can also introduce themselves too.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Murray, and we represent 80th and Hemingway LLC. And we are excited to have joined the development team with Della. And as far as rents, we haven't put exactly pencil to paper of it's, $1,250 a month, $1,275 a month. It'll be market within comparables. The market that we've been looking at is West St. Paul, Woodbury, Inver Grove Heights, Mendota Heights. It'll be comparable to other market rate buildings that offer the same new, fresh amenities, building construction within the market, and the comparables in which the other residents may look for other places to live as well. So we haven't identified that specifically, but they'll be within market and competitive with other comparable properties in the submarket, if that makes sense.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for the applicant? All right. Well, thank you for coming up. This is a public hearing, so without any additional dialogue from the EDA, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to speak on this topic, not seeing anyone here other than the applicant, I will go ahead and officially close the public hearing. And then at this point, EDA, we have two motions that are before us. The first one is item A, which is to authorize the contract for private development by and between the Cottage Grove Economic Development Authority and 80th and Hemingway LLC, subject to minor modifications by the city attorney. And I would seek a motion at this point.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Mr. Thewis,
Second.
second by Mr. Carey. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And then item B, which is to approve a resolution approving the sale of 7516 80th Street South from Cottage Grove Economic Development Authority to 80th and Hemingway LLC for development purposes, subject to minor modifications by the city attorney. Can I have a motion to approve this?
Like the motion to approve that?
Okay, motion made by Mr. Myers. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
And a second by Mr. Thewis. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries once again 4-0. Thank you, Della. We're looking forward. I know we've been through a lengthy process to get where we are, and it's really exciting, and I will look forward to seeing you here. I don't know if it's the next council meeting or the one after that, so that we can get this thing put together.
March 18th.
Fantastic. All right, thank you. All right, moving along, we will go to item 6, which is other business. 6.1 is the EDA Calendar. And there is one item that I do want to mention, and that is actually for today, March 10th. The Business After Hours is happening at Muddy Cow. This is an event put on by the Chamber of Commerce, and it's a great opportunity for chamber members to get together, also individuals who might be interested in joining our business community or being part of the chamber. That will be running from 4:30 until 6 tonight, once again at Muddy Cow here in Cottage Grove. Is there anything anyone else would like to mention off the calendar? All right, we'll go on to number 6.2, which is EDA Comments. Is there anything anyone would like to bring up? All right. 6.3 is response to previous EDA comments, and we do not have any. Number 7 is workshop. We do not have anything scheduled for today. And then finally, quickly and easily, we're at number 8 for adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, first and second, Mr. Carey and Mr. Myers. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, everyone, have a great day. Thank you.